So for the last century, medicine has effectively treated the human body like a radio receiver.
Right.
The logic was always, if something's broken, you just tune into the right frequency.
Broadcast a signal and just kind of hope the biology picks it up.
Exactly. But welcome to this deep dive. By the way, today we have a stack of research from the Center for Advanced Electromotive Technology that, it completely flips that script.
It really does. Because what we're looking at today is a new investigational platform. It's called Curvature Adaptive Electromagnetic Therapeutics, or CAEMT.
And the mission of this deep dive is to unpack how this shift moving from a frequency-first approach to a geometry-first approach could completely revolutionize how we treat complex tissue damage.
Yeah, because the central problem they identify with legacy tech, like PEMF or those tumor treating fields, is something they call the homogenous volume problem.
Meaning those devices essentially treat you like a bucket of salt water.
Yes. They broadcast a blind signal into a general area, assuming the tissue is all the same. But biological tissue is anisotropic.
Which is just a fancy way of saying it has a grain, like wood. It has direction.
Right. It's highly irregular. And when you have an injury like a wound or a stroke, that grain gets disrupted. The microstructure becomes chaotic.
So if you just blast a standard frequency into that chaos, it's deeply inefficient. It's like shouting instructions into a hurricane.
That is the exact aha moment in these papers. CAEMT changes the rules by proposing a closed-loop cybernetic system. It doesn't just broadcast, it actually listens to the shape of the damage first.
Right, and it does this through the brain of the system, which they call the Dillon operator engine. And it runs on a 4-step cycle: sense, compute, act, and resents.
Let's break that down because the sense phase is fascinating. It uses impedance tomography and dielectric spectroscopy to see the disorder. It maps the electrical resistance of the tissue.
So it gathers that raw data and moves to compute. The engine translates it into a curvature tensor field,
Which you can think of as a 4D topographic map.
Right. Instead of just seeing where the tissue is, it sees how the tissue is warped or stressed in space and time.
Precisely. And once it knows the geometry of the damage it acts. Now this part is interesting because they're using super high frequencies. We're talking 2.4 gigahertz up to 95 gigahertz.
Which sounds exactly like a microwave oven. But the sources are adamant this is strictly non-thermal. They aren't cooking the cells.
No, not at all. They use pulse geometry. They shape the wave to mechanically nudge cellular structures like the cytoskeleton without generating heat. It is physical manipulation using fields.
And then crucially, the loop closes. It resenses.
Immediately, it checks to see if the tissue responded. They use a metric called the syntropy index.
Measuring the movement from chaos or entropy back to order. Syntropy.
Exactly. If the tissue alignment improves, the machine continues. If not, it instantly adjusts the geometry of the field.
It's auditing itself in real time, which is incredible. Let's talk about the applications for this. Keeping in mind, this is still an investigational research platform. You can't just walk into a clinic and get this yet.
Right, it's strictly research right now.
But the implications for wound remodeling caught my eye.
The collagen alignment data is wild. When a deep wound heals, you want collagen fibers to line up straight like soldiers. If they tangle, you get a scar.
So this system aims to geometrically guide that alignment to reduce or even eliminate scarring.
Yes. And there's also the neural signaling aspect, the bridge concept.
Right, where if a nerve is damaged, the signal drops.
And the CAEMT platform attempts to shape a field that actually jumps the gap. It maintains the signal flow while the biology repairs the physical bridge underneath.
Now, despite how sci-fi all of this sounds, the documentation heavily emphasizes rigor. They rely on these TVR proof bundles.
That is critical. Because the system is AI-driven, it records a deterministic log of every single millisecond of therapy. Researchers can replay the session to see exactly why the machine decided to change the pulse shape.
So it's fully auditable, which is totally necessary if you're using an algorithm on human biology.
It is.
And it all points toward this broader concept of centropic medicine.
Where healing isn't just feeling better, it is literally defined as the restoration of geometric order.
It forces you to reconsider how we view the body. We usually think of chemistry, pills, fluids. But this suggests we are just as much about architecture.
It really does.
And it leaves you with a massive question.
Yeah.
If our biology is so heavily dictated by these invisible geometries, what other structures in our bodies have we been ignoring simply because we didn't have the math to see them yet?
It's a profound thought.
Definitely something for you to chew on. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into the geometry of healing. Catch you on the next one.